Welcome to the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. My name is Jack Minogues.
I'm Brian Hines.
It's a Monday in the feed. You know what that means. We're sitting down with another OVW superstar, this time in the form of Leo Fox. Leo,
Thank you for joining us.
How are y'all?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Glad to be here, man.
So there was something that stuck out for me, early on seeing you at OVW. You know, because you are a big guy. You're an imposing guy, covered in tattoos. You know, Battleborn Leo Fox, the black trunks, the black boots, and then you do this in-ring segment with Shannon the Dude, and it's like this whole other side of your personality. So I guess the first question I would like to ask is, what is something about Leo Fox that people should know that they don't know yet?
Oh man, that is a good question. Well, first thing, so I will say, when you hear me talk sometimes, I have a little bit of a lisp. I got a traumatic brain injury in Iraq in an explosion. So, when I was talking to y'all earlier, I was going to tell Tiny and the story, but that's one thing is every once in a while when you hear me talk, you'll hear me with a little bit of a lisp, and it's just because I got a traumatic brain injury. So if you hear if you hear me lisp or anything, you feel free to make fun of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of a funny thing. But I don't know. As far as wrestling goes, I think I don't really call the battle or the war criminal. I really don't look at it as a gimmick. I really think that was just me at 18 years old. Mm-hmm. That was just me. 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, turned up to a 10.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But, that's really what I was at 18.
Mm-hmm.
I just was an infantryman in Iraq, and I just was go, go, go. You know what I mean?
So did you join the service right at 18 years old?
The day I turned 18.
Wow. Was there any question that that's what you wanted to do with your life?
Well, so in July of 2001, I went on a trip to New York City, and so I got to see, the New York City skyline. I got my picture taken with it.
Sure.
And then 48 days later, 9/11
Oh,
happened.
wow.
So I have this picture of me, as a young kid with the Twin Towers behind me. So as soon as that happened, of course I wasn't old enough then, but I knew from 9/11 on, I was I want to join the military. You know what I mean?
So that explains the tattoo on your forearm, the skyline of New York City.
Yeah. So
I was wondering about that.
Me and my wife, we both grew up on ranches in Oklahoma, and so, we just like to go on random trips just to see big cities because we're just marks for skylines.
Well, sure.
It's just the most random thing ever. You know what I mean?
What's the nearest skyline to where are you from? Dallas, I guess?
It'd be Dallas, Tulsa, or Oklahoma City.
Yeah, New York's skyline's a little bit more notorious than those three
Very
cities.
much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So how long did you serve?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you
No worries.
very much.
No worries, yeah.
And thanks for talking about it.
Yeah.
So how long after you leave the service do you start wrestling?
Oh, man. So I got out. I was a firefighter, paramedic, and a flight medic. And because of the physical trauma and because of the PTSD, I had a lot of problems with PTSD that I wasn't taken care of. I actually had a problem with addiction and actually got addicted to opiates and went from taking pain pills that the VA was mailing to me every month to actually shooting up $100 a day of heroin.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was I was a flight paramedic, shooting up $100 a day of heroin, and I finally, I'm working with fentanyl, with morphine, and everything, and I had a really bad patient, and it really messed with me mentally, and I just went home one day and was I told my wife I'm gonna end up killing myself if I don't find something else to do. I'm either gonna overdose or something because it's really getting to me mentally. And so I went to rehab and got sober and needed to find a new career.
Right.
And I'm very, very, very fortunate that me and my wife are we're in a very good financial situation and are in a very good financial situation where you know, like I don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs or anything. Like I could dive into whatever art form that I wanted to. And I had spent at that point a decade in the gym and had always been a wrestling fan.
Okay.
And so I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's a natural fit.
Let's give it a try. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's such an unfortunate pipeline that a lot of people know all too well, especially in the service, is, you know, going through things that are completely unbelievable and completely indescribable to most people, and having to deal with those things. And then on top of that, the pills to heroin pipeline is a very, very all too real thing.
Especially here in Kentucky.
Especially, yeah, I mean, friends and family. I think everyone in this room has had friends or family that's seen that exact same pipeline. It's an incredibly hard thing to take yourself out of.
Yeah. And you wouldn't believe how, like, because I'm from obviously from a small town as well, and like it just seems like it ravages small country communities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Kentucky's not all that different from Oklahoma. You know what I mean? So like it just feels like maybe it's because, you know, there's not a whole lot to do in rural Kentucky, like rural Oklahoma. You know what I mean? So, but it just, and you know, I lived in a big city for, you know, a number of years, but like it just didn't seem like addiction. I didn't see addiction as much there as I did when I went back to, you know, rural Oklahoma.
Yeah. I'm from a small town in Ohio, and where it was when I graduated high school versus now is a whole different landscape because of that. And I mean, it's gotten better in some respects, but there are a lot of things that are present now that were not present 30 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
How did it make you feel to break that cycle inside of yourself?
Man, it felt gratifying because, like, you know, I really condensed the story. Like, it took me 7 trips to rehab to get sober. I mean, I could not break it. Like, I kept wanting to get sober, but I was just trying to get sober, to stop putting a needle in my arm and to stop drinking and this and that. Like, I had to actually do a deep dive and to go back and work on the PTSD that you know, from the stuff that happened when I was in Iraq before I could finally find peace. You know what I mean?
And you were 20, 21 years old. You're a very young man when you're going through some of this stuff.
I was 18.
You're 18. Okay.
Oh,
well,
wow.
I just turned 19 in Iraq. Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, like, and my sobriety is like, it's an extremely important deal to me. I mean, like, I carry my 7-year chip.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
My
Congratulations.
wife gives me on December 17th every year. We go out to eat, and she gives me a new chip every year. And I mean, I absolutely, that, my wedding ring, yeah, I carry it everywhere. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, I'll lose my wallet before I lose my wedding ring and my chip. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's very, very, very important to me. My sobriety is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like smoke weed. I don't, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of nicotine and caffeine, and that's it.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
So you're in a lot better spot than most people.
Yeah.
Your wife sounds like kind of an incredible person.
Oh, dude, she's an angel. She's my best friend. She should have kicked me out so many times. I mean, what other person do you know that would drive you to rehab 7 times? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not many.
No, not many at all.
And now you have a wonderful child together.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, Luciana Margaret May is her name.
Where did that come from?
So my wife is a full-blood Italian.
Okay.
So
That would have been my guess.
We wanted an Italian name. I'm more like, you know, like a mutt. You know what I mean? I mean,
it's the same.
Yeah, like I have some Irish heritage, but yeah, I'm pretty much just a mutt. And so, I mean, I have a little bit of Italian in me as well, but my wife is full blood. Like, I think her grandparents were first generation born over here, so I mean, she's not very far removed. As a matter of fact, last year, right before we got pregnant, she went over and got to meet her last living relative
From Italy.
that's still in Italy.
That's amazing.
It would have been her her, if I have it correct, it'd been her grandmother's cousin.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go.
So it was really cool that she got to go over there and meet her, and they end up staying like, I want to say like 18 days.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So stayed with her for like 5 days, and then went and stayed at like, it wasn't like a hotel, but it wasn't like a hostel. It was like a bed and breakfast type deal.
Sure.
And got to see the community that their family was from.
That's a really incredible
Yeah,
experience.
it was really cool.
So you're looking for something new, as you mentioned, and you'd always been a wrestling fan. You're a gym rat. You love working out. You love wrestling. And does it make sense, like, oh, maybe I should give this a try? Maybe this is the next thing for me?
Yeah, because I didn't grow up in a very good home. I didn't have a very good home dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my escape from a lot of abuse and stuff from when I was a kid was different types of art, like music and sports, wrestling and stuff like that. But I didn't play an instrument. I couldn't, I can't sing, like, but I loved just every type of art. You know what I mean? And when I got sober and started looking at wrestling as an art form,
Okay.
I was like, I love this.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like growing up, it's, you're watching two guys fight. You know what I mean?
And it's real. And it's the most.
It's the most
Yeah.
real thing ever. And but when I started looking at it as an art form, I was like, I want to try this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I basically learned the very basics, and then I end up just happened to have a mutual friend with EC3, and I seen that he was going to be at a show in Michigan, which was like a 14-hour drive from my house, and I found that out on Wednesday, and it was a Friday show, so I just loaded up my wrestling gear on Thursday morning and drove
Hell yeah, man.
14, 15 hours just to meet EC3. Didn't know the promoter, didn't know if I was even going to get in the building. I didn't know if I was going to have to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
I didn't know. But I showed up, and Michael, EC3 has been one of my closest friends since,
What's it like to kind of pick a guy's brain like EC3, who has been everywhere?
Man, like, it would be, like, do you have a favorite sport?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in March. I'm a Kentucky boy through and through, so Kentucky basketball, baby.
Man, it'd be like you, like, being a pickup basketball player and then getting to sit down with Magic Johnson.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
Like, me and Mike, me and Three will sit down and talk sometimes, like, because I spend a lot of weekends in the car or in a plane with EC3, and sometimes we'll get to talking about stuff and get so deep in psychology that I'm like, we got to take a step back here. How did we get this deep? I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, where's the bridge at? Because I got lost somewhere.
Yeah, no.
Because it's just so deep. You know what I mean? It'd be like talking to LeBron James about different defenses.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
Pick and rolls. Or something.
Yeah. Or talking to, Tom Brady about, going against a 3-4 or 4-3. And I mean, it's incredible, like, how much depth there is in EC3's mind when it comes to in-ring psychology and just storytelling and stuff.
So has EC3 kind of put your foot in the door for OVW?
Yeah, I think he's the reason that I got a tryout match. I think he's the reason.
So you've been at OVW for less than a year at this point, right?
Yeah, I had my first match as part of the national tour in October in Warren, Ohio, and the next day Wisconsin. And then after my match in Wisconsin, they asked me, could I be in Louisville, Kentucky every Thursday? Was
that the first time you'd been to Louisville?
Yeah, I'd never been to Louisville before.
Yeah, it's an interesting little town. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm from a small town. I grew up on a little 77-acre ranch. I graduated with 16 people.
Wow.
Golly.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
was like-
my school was small, man.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, to me, Louisville's big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Yeah, I had never been to Louisville before.
In your time at OVW, is there anything that's really like stuck out for you? Anything that you've done, or a conversation that you've had, or anything along that line?
I've had a lot of great conversations with Al Snow, a lot of great conversations with Dave Hero. Getting to go 20 minutes on live television with EC3
Yeah.
and being so in the moment that I about dropped the F-bomb, but like licking the blood, like I busted him open, then licking the blood off his forehead, just being so in the moment, just being so war criminal.
That's intense.
You know what I mean? That I
Yeah.
just licked the blood off his forehead. You know what I mean? While having him in a chokehold, like that was really cool. Going 20 minutes, like I had my baby, so I took 2 months off immediately. Right? I didn't
Sure.
want to miss a thing because me and my wife, we have a son, but he was born when I was 18 years old in Iraq, so I didn't get to. I didn't get to experience the first months of his life.
Yeah.
So I wanted to experience every absolute second when my daughter came,
Yeah.
right? And so my first night back, I get there and they're like, "You're gonna wrestle 21 minutes with Jesse Goddard." So that was really cool too.
I've got to be honest. I was in the audience sitting there watching that and like looking at my watch and saying, "Oh my gosh, they've really given Leo he's fresh back. Jesse's kind of fresh back. They've really given these guys a lot of breathing room, a lot of time to go." And that's got to be kind of intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Is that the longest you've wrestled on television?
Oh, yeah, definitely on those might have been two of the longest like singles matches that I've had. I think it was 18 minutes on television plus a 2-minute break spot. So me and EC3 wrestled for 20, and I actually think me and Jesse was 19.
Okay.
Wow,
with
so
the
they were
TV
both
break.
right there.
Yeah, so
That
I
probably
think,
also gives you a big boost of confidence as well, that they're willing to give you that kind of time.
oh,
that
absolutely,
kind of spotlight.
absolutely. Like I think they were both extremely memorable. I think the EC3 one was more memorable because it was my first time,
Yeah.
wrestling that long on live television, and like them, pretty much saying like, "Here's the ball, you can run with it." You know what I mean? But my them trusting me, like I've been gone for 2 months, and they, I come back and I walk through the doors, and they're like, "You got 20 minutes with Goddard on live television today," and Jesse's a beast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was a real big confidence boost that they trusted me to go out there and to keep him safe and to, to be able to handle it. So they were both big confidence boosters, and both. I'll remember those two matches for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was really cool.
And they happened right in OVW. That's great.
Yeah, right there.
Where is there anywhere else that like you wrestle on the regular?
I wrestle for NWA Exodus regularly.
That's
and
in
then,
Ohio.
Yeah, it's in Cleveland.
Cleveland.
It was actually NWA's first territory after they started the new territory system. EC3 is one of the owners, and then I don't wrestle. There's places in Oklahoma that I wrestle, fairly regularly, in Texas, but I actually kind of hit like a career reset back in May of 2024 because I moved to Cleveland and lived in a house with 4 other guys and went through EC3's first advanced class.
Okay.
Where we trained 15, 20 hours a week. We were just you know what I mean? Just completely retrained. He handpicked 15 people. We had a guy from Italy, a guy from the UK. I was from Oklahoma. We had guys from Florida, a couple of guys from Ohio that already lived there.
So this is like truly handpicked. Like it
Oh, yeah.
wasn't just I handpicked you guys. This is guys from all over the world.
Oh, yeah. He had like, I want to say like 60, 70 people applied, and he handpicked, 15 people. And I had, at that point in time, I had just over 2 years experience, and I was by far the least experienced, the least knowledgeable. And it was very intimidating, but like about halfway through, I realized like I'm actually in the best spot of all 15 people because I'm not just learning from Matt Roby, who was the head trainer at EC3, but but I'm also learning from 14 other guys as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was actually in the absolute best spot, even though I was like the most least knowledgeable guy, and I was a half step behind everyone for the majority of the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
What was you kind of mentioned that like you got rewired during that training. What's like a tendency that you had before that, or that you either a tendency that you had before that got broken, or a tendency that you picked up during that rewiring period?
I would have to say that before then, when I went to the ring, like I didn't just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like after training with EC3, I feel a lot more confident in just going out there and just being the ass kicker, Leo Fox.
Yeah.
Where before, where it was like I'm in my head like thinking, all right, well if he does this, then I'm gonna do that, and if then I do that and he does this, then I need to do this, this, and that, and this, and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel way more confident going out there and just being like, all right, Jack, man, you just do what you want. I'm just gonna go with it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, I could probably, if I sat here and thought about it, I could list 50 things that,
Sure.
that he changed my mindset on. But that was the big one. And I guess it was like more like having confidence and just in being able to trust yourself instead of trying to plan out every situation. You know, because coming, you know, like, and it's really weird because, you know, going from being a soldier in the Iraq War at 18 years old to being a flight paramedic and a firefighter, like, I mean, those are two life and death situations.
Yeah.
Those are two life and death jobs. And I had
Absolutely.
so much confidence. Like, you could not put me in a situation as a soldier, and you couldn't put me in a situation as a paramedic that I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got into wrestling, like, I was like so lost.
Yeah.
Because there's not a formula.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
There's no book.
There's nothing that tells you this is the way to do it. There's so many different ways to do it. You know what I mean? So there was times where, like, after training, me and EC3 would be in the ring. Me and Mike would be in the ring, and it was just like, you know, he's like, you're overthinking it. He's like, dude, you've kicked in doors in Iraq. You know what I mean? Like, you've flown people, you know, like, you know, there's this really bad situation, you know, when I was a flight medic where an oil rig exploded. The only survivor, I was the paramedic, you know, that picked them up, you know, and it was like, you got through these situations, like, you know what I mean, knowing what you're doing,
Yeah.
but you can't go out there and wrestle for 6, 7, 8 minutes. You know what I mean? Without without spending 3 hours overthinking it. Like, just trust yourself and go out there and do it. And it was a real turning point. You know?
Sure. No, and you said, well, if I thought about it, I could probably name 50 things, but you don't. It's a testament to how much you've learned that they're so ingrained that you can't even remember them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm about to hand it off to my co-host here because I know that you guys have become fast pals.
Yeah.
We'll change up the pace of the interview in a little for a moment, but I do want to ask why West Coast rap? Why don't you have a Biggie tattoo? Why is it just
So the tattoo is actually, it's for MTV.
okay?
I wondered
Perfect.
about that with
So,
the
'cause if you look on the
spacesuit.
inside, so like Kurt Cobain is on the inside.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Never
when I was
seen Kurt.
when I was growing up, it was more about like MTV and VH1 were doing the best of the 90s.
Yeah.
If you remember, and I don't remember how old I was.
We're about the same age, so
I don't remember how old I was in 2000, 2001, but a lot of late night on MTV, MTV2,
Yeah.
and VH1 and VH1 Classic was the best of the 90s, pop-up video.
Pop-up
Yeah.
video.
And so
yeah.
it was the NWA, Tupac, and Nirvana was always in the top 5 of the best of the 90s. And so that's actually what it is. Like I'm not
Right on.
like I mean I love Eazy-E, I love Tupac. Don't get me wrong, but it's not solely about them.
Okay.
It's more about the representation of MTV and the art form that it let me get lost and find solace in a time of my life when life wasn't going too good.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
I love that. That's a much better answer than my question deserved. So, Brian Hines.
To piggyback on that, that was such a great time for music. I turned 15 in 1991, and I remember exactly where I was when "Smells Like Teen Spirit" hit MTV that first
Really?
day after school, and I remember
Was
thinking
it like September 10th, wasn't it?
something like
Or
that.
that was when the Nevermind dropped, so it was probably a little bit after that.
Yeah, somewhere around
Yeah.
there. But I remember thinking, I've never seen anything like this before.
Right.
This is incredible. So, what if you had to pick? What would be your favorite Nirvana song?
Drain You.
Really?
Yeah. That's
a
Nice.
great choice.
That is a
That's a
great
great
choice.
choice.
When I was
That's actually so if you watch the Live at the Paramount,
Yeah.
which is the in concert DVD that they did,
Yeah.
in was it Halloween night 1991 or Halloween night 1992? I think Halloween night 1991, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, or Halloween weekend. That's him just ripping on his guitar on "Drain You."
Wow.
Yeah, so if you go back and you can pull it up on YouTube, the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's him just doing his guitar solo on "Drain You."
That was a big influence on just about everybody my age back then. If it wasn't for Nirvana, I probably wouldn't have started playing music at that time when I did, because one of my friends had a guitar and kept trying to get me to get a drum kit and stuff like that. And I eventually did get around to it. That's a whole other story for another time that involves Woodstock '94 and potential tragedy with a family member. But
If I would have known that you were such a big Nirvana fan, just to tell this story real quick. So like I love old newspapers, right? So like in my house I have the Chicago Herald the day after JFK was shot, right?
really,
And then I have the newspaper from the Dallas Morning News from the morning after we invaded Iraq.
Yeah.
And then I have the Seattle Herald from the day after Kurt Cobain's body was found.
Yeah.
He killed himself April 5th.
they found him on the 8th, right?
They found him on the 8th, and then they put the picture of his right
Him in the
side of his
greenhouse,
body
yeah.
on April 9th, 1994. And I have the newspaper from the Seattle Herald, and I bought it off of eBay. And when I bought it, it didn't cost much of anything. But the lady that I bought it from, when she mailed it to me, she mailed it to me along with like 7 or 8 magazines that she'd gotten in that time frame.
Yeah.
And then she actually mailed me 3 VHS tapes from, I guess she put a note in there, and pretty much like I'm looking at these VHS tapes and I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I read the note, and it's a handwritten note, and she said that she was in high school when he died, and so she would put in a tape and record MTV for when she was at school. So if any news came out, then she would be able to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
And she said that when she finally decided to sell the newspaper that she had, she felt like she wanted to pass it on to someone.
Sure.
She wanted to pass
Yeah.
on her whole Kurt Cobain collection to someone that truly appreciated it, because
Wow.
it was like kind of like a passing of the torch, even though we didn't know each other. That's
Sure,
how she
yeah.
described it. So I thought it
Yeah.
was really cool. I don't have a VHS.
Oh, dude, I got you.
You got you do have,
Yeah,
yeah,
a
you have
couple in
V-
working order. There's even one in the other room.
I need to find one so I can watch these cassette tapes. Like I
Sure,
would love just
absolutely. I'll help
you
you
know
out.
what I mean? Was it Kurt Loder?
Kurt
Yeah.
Loder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and I've read every book that has been written about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. I've read, and Kurt Loder and Kurt Cobain got drunk on red wine together more than one time. And I think actually Kurt Loder, I think the reason that he was either fired or MTV didn't renew his contract is because his drinking started to get kind of out of control, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
I could be wrong on that. So, but I'm pretty sure that's why he left MTV. But him and Cobain got pretty close and got drunk on red wine a couple of times during interviews. So, yeah.
Well, it was the '90s, and and
Yeah,
it was a whole different time.
There's
man.
a ton of Nirvana interviews out there where they're not exactly sober. I think that was a
yeah.
big pastime for those guys.
Yeah.
So I really only have one other question besides that. We could sit and talk about Nirvana and stuff, and I'm sure we will at great length at some point.
Yeah.
But I just have one more thing I need to ask. So, where did you become a fan of Fletch, the movie? Because that's kind of how we, kind of interacted at first. Because you posted a reel on Facebook, and you made a reference that I picked up on right away, and I responded to that, and I said, anybody who is a fan of Fletch is a friend of mine, and it's kind of been a running joke between us ever since then. I mean, I remember that from when it originally came out on VHS. How did you get to that? And have you seen Fletch Lives as well? Because we
love Fletch Lives.
Yeah,
love Fletch Lives. They came out in '85 and '89, so
Right.
they came out before I was even born. But Fletch used to come on TBS on Saturday nights a lot. If I
Oh,
remember.
yeah,
that and Overboard with
Kurt
Goldie
Russell.
Hawn and
Kurt
Russell.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell.
And,
oh
like-
my gosh, I've seen that movie so many times.
Oh my God, yeah! It seemed like every time I turned around, it was on TBS.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Either that or Andy Griffith.
yeah. But I think, if I remember right, I got a hold, maybe from like Blockbuster or something. I got a hold of a documentary about the early days of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I'm a huge fan.
And then somewhere around there, I see Fletch on TV, and I'm like, that's the guy from the original Saturday Night Live cast. So I started watching it, and then I end up buying the VHS from like Walmart or something on like a 20th anniversary, and I literally played the VHS so much that it stopped working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just got
the tape just
it
just
starts
deteriorates.
disintegrating. It just starts disintegrating. But it would come on TBS on like Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Fletch and Fletch Lives.
Fletch probably influenced my sense of humor more than just about any character growing up. And as a matter of fact, before I came into work today, there's a vintage store around the corner called Pops. I stopped in there before I came in hopes that I could find a copy of Fletch to give to you during the show. And
man.
they didn't have any out. He's like, well, there might be one around here somewhere, but I don't know whether I could find it right away, and I had to get to work. But I had already looked into that, so I could surprise you with one.
I appreciate that, man. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So when I got out of a funny story, when I got out of the military and I was putting myself through college, I was waiting tables. It was a really crazy time. I went from kicking indoors in Iraq to waiting tables at a Cajun restaurant in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Inside like 3 months. It was just a wild time.
Strangely enough, the same amount of yelling.
Yeah, same amount of yelling. Yep, same amount of unhappy people. Yeah. But I'm taking the order of somebody. All right, I just got done I was taking the order of somebody, and a female that I worked with was taking the order of the table right next to me. And in the middle of taking this young man's order, I hear a guy say, "I'll have a steak sandwich and a steak sandwich." And I literally waited till this lady got done taking her order, and I was like, "Can I just stop just real quick?" And I just looked over at that guy, and I just made sure he seen me, and I winked at him, and I was like, I caught it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
You
As
know?
long as it goes on the Underhills account.
Yeah, as long
course.
as it goes on the Underhills account. But yeah, I actually I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days so I have ringing in my ears from Iraq, and so I have a lot of times I have to fall asleep with a loud fan or some TV on or something, and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days ago I put on Fletch just to fall asleep to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think the last thing I remember, because I'll start it at different parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts is he's showing her the pictures, and he's like, "Yeah, here's the picture to the deed. Here's the dog that tried to bite me." You know, he really likes steak. You know, just the most random things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the guy catching him looking under the bed, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm gonna pull rank on you. I'm with the mattress police. There's no tags on this mattress." You know, just random stuff. Have you seen Fletch?
I saw it. So I kind of went through the same thing that you did. Is I was very into Saturday Night Live, and then you realize, you know, it's on every Saturday, and then there's like 30 other years of it. And
Yeah.
You hit that first kind of handful of seasons, Chevy, Bill Murray, John Belushi, and then you delve straight into those movies.
Yeah.
Fletch, Animal House.
Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
What's the one where Bill Murray's in the army that they
Stripes.
Stripes, yeah,
Stripes.
that they filmed in Kentucky, filmed part of it in Kentucky.
It's from
Coneheads.
Kentucky?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Conehead. Isn't there, I want to say, isn't there like 30
Caddyshack.
movies?
Which ones?
I want to say there's like 30 movies that can be attributed to SNL.
Oh, I'm sure.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Because you know, they have the 50th anniversary special where they have like four episodes on Peacock, right?
Yeah.
And they're interviewing someone, and someone's like, "Yeah, I think there's like 11 movies that came from SNL," and the interviewer's like, "No, there's actually 30." And
I'm going to have to look into this now that we're on the subject.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like
Yeah.
so we got into it the same way.
Couple things. If you find yourself in Nashville over the next few months, they're doing at the Belcourt. They have a great theater down there at the Belcourt called, and this is for public service announcements for everybody, where they're doing Saturday Night Live movies with, and then having like the people that made the movies come and speak.
No.
What?
So yeah, if you're a Saturday Night Live fan, find yourself in Nashville, there look out for that one. Belcourt's a great theater. On the way out here, Leo, do you mind to plug your social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I don't know my handles. It's like I think Twitter is Battleborn Leo, and then I think Instagram is Battleborn Leo Fox.
Okay.
But if you just search Leo Fox on Instagram and Twitter, Threads, Facebook, it all pops up. And I have the same. I think I have the same profile picture in all of them. So yeah.
I'm genuinely sorry to kind of cut this off. I know that the studio needs. We have another guest coming in the studio. We could have talked to you all day long, brother.
I would have had
Absolutely,
There's
yeah.
layers and layers and layers to you. Like I've never met anybody that collected magazine or old newspapers. Now I think that's like the coolest shit I've ever heard. So, like I feel like we could talk to you. We could talk to you all day. And please come back next time. I know that it's a tough ask, but we got to get a part 2 of this one, brother.
Oh, absolutely.
We got to get a part 2 of
Yes,
this one.
I
most
enjoyed it.
definitely. I'll be more prepared next time.
Oh man, I'm so glad. Thank y'all for letting me come in. It was an absolute blast.
No,
we gotta have to have a part 2. We're gonna run it back.
Absolutely.
We're gonna run it back.
Absolutely. Battleborn Leo Fox, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.